allergies are acting back up.
I know.
And I feel like people are getting a little under the weather, and
Yeah.
it's not like COVID or anything like that. It's just kind of feeling a little under the weather.
Yeah. It's kind of muggy outside too, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, I'm hoping this weekend it starts to clear up. So
Yes.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to Alabama Care. Today we have Miss Elaina Burt, and she is the founder of Charlie's Chance. I recommend you check it out at charlieschance.org, and also an ambassador for the Epilepsy Foundation of America and a family advocate for her cousin. I'd also like to throw in that she is a pilot, or soon to become a pilot.
Yes.
So at this point, I'd like to hand it over. Miss Burt, if you would introduce yourself.
Yes. So like you said, my name is Elaina Burt, and I'm the founder of Charlie's Chance, it was created out of a love for my cousin Charlie, who was diagnosed with epilepsy when she was 1. And I was also, like you said, named an ambassador for the Epilepsy Foundation of America. So I've gotten to do just some great advocacy work with them. And I'm super excited to be here today. I was able to go to EpiCon, which I think we'll talk about in a little bit, but it was an epilepsy conference. And I was able to go on behalf of Alabama Care and just kind of interview all of the vendors and the patients and the families that were there, and just kind of their experience at EpiCon.
So I was unfamiliar with EpiCon before you kind of talked about it, and looking at the footage that you got, it's a huge convention, a ton of people all around the country. It looked like a lot of people from the Southeast. It was held in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, who all went up with you to Nashville?
So it's funny you ask. It was actually kind of my whole family. So it was my mom, my dad, my sister, and then for Charlie, it was Charlie, my aunt, my uncle, and Charlie's sister. So really kind of our whole family went, and I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of, maybe the patient that had epilepsy came, as well as say 5 or 10 of their family members came. So we saw a lot of support for that person that did have epilepsy at the conference.
Yeah, I imagine there are quite a bit of families, because it's really, you want to go as many people as possible and bring that training home and that community home so that you can implement what you learn at the convention back in your home. And it really takes a village and a community to kind of make that big difference. So that's awesome that you're seeing, and your family went as well, that you're seeing that family connection there. Now, what exactly is the EpiCon? Is that
Yes, so it was a nationwide, so you had people from all over the country come, and it was just an epilepsy conference. So it was really all things epilepsy you can think of, and you really had a wide range of people that were there. So you had your vendors that were maybe founders of organizations, you had caregivers of people that had epilepsy, you had epilepsy patients, and like we talked about, we had lots of families of epilepsy patients. So you had a wide range of people there, and it was in Nashville at the Grand Ole Opry Hotel. So it was a super fun event just to be there. But you really just learned all things epilepsy. You got to meet a lot of new people, but it really was a cool experience.
Yeah, it's almost like a vacation for the whole family.
Yeah, especially at that kind of venue.
Yeah, I've only been to Nashville a few times. Did you guys get to go to like a Predators game or any? I guess they're out. They're out of the season right now. It's a big hockey team up there.
Yes, but there were lots of fun, like little restaurants inside the hotel. So you really didn't even have to leave if you didn't want to.
Yeah. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about why you're so passionate about epilepsy and you've taken on this advocacy. Now, you mentioned you have a family member.
Yes. So my little cousin Charlie, she was diagnosed with epilepsy when she was 1, and she's now 5. So I really got to see firsthand the devastating effects that epilepsy can have, but not really just on the patient, but really on the entire family as a whole. And just what it took to become an overcomer every single day, like Charlie does. And that's what created the passion in me, just to make a difference on, I guess, a bigger scale. So I've gotten to do lots of advocacy work as an ambassador for the Epilepsy Foundation of America. I started Charlie's Chance. We are impatiently waiting on nonprofit status. But so, yeah, it's been really cool just to kind of dive into the community and just to learn more about epilepsy and just what I can do for the community.
Now, you mentioned that your cousin is 5 and she was diagnosed at 1. And since she was diagnosed, you kind of jumped into the epilepsy community and really took that on. What is something that you learned in these past 4 or 5 years that has really made a difference for your cousin's overall success?
So there's this common misperception, I guess, that epilepsy is rare. And it's just not. In fact, 1 in 10 people have a seizure at some point in their lifetime. And I had no clue that. I just kind of assumed, not that it was rare, but I just didn't think about the fact that it's really not. And that is something that I have kind of had a big push for with Charlie's Chance, is just advocating on the fact that it's not rare. And that's something that I learned, and that I really do have a big push behind Charlie's Chance, is just that epilepsy is not rare.
That reminds me of something that I heard before about, we were talking about universal design. I think it was with Dr. Graham Sisson, and about building houses that are universally designed so you can get through doors and a wheelchair, those types of things. And he was saying, when you think about it, everybody is going to have a disability at some point in their life if you live long enough.
Right.
And so hearing that, 1 out of 10 people will have a seizure during their life makes sense. If you live long enough, this is something that may affect you. Now, I've only been around a few instances where I was in an environment where somebody had a seizure, and another one was where a pet was having a seizure. And it was the first time I'd ever seen a seizure, and I didn't know what to do. I was kind of locked up, and I wanted to help, but I didn't know how to. What would you say to somebody that's unfamiliar with seizures and epilepsy?
I think that the first thing is just to stay calm. Like you said, you kind of locked up and got scared and didn't know what to do. And that's not uncommon. When someone sees that someone's having a seizure, they freak out, they get scared, and they kind of just want to like distance themselves. But so I can actually bring in my website here. I created a website for Charlie's Chance, and it's called charlieschance.org. And one of the tabs that I have on there is an advocacy tab, and it has a link on there where you can get seizure first aid certified or seizure first aid ready. And this is a super easy course that you can take. It's free, it's online and on demand. And it really just takes you through the steps of what to do if someone's having a seizure. And it's really easy. It's 3 simple steps. You stay with the person, you turn them on their side, and you keep them safe from the objects around them. And so I think that just kind of getting that out there, that it is so simple that it is so simple what you do when someone's having a seizure. But yeah, so you can go to my website and you can find that link there.
We're going to pull your website up here just a second. Why do you turn them on their side?
So that they don't swallow their tongue.
Okay. So I have heard that kind of clenching up, you can bite your tongue.
Yeah. And it also keeps them from choking if they're on their side.
Okay, that makes sense. I don't have any babies, didn't raise any children, so I'm unfamiliar with a lot of that there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. We're going to pull up your website, and so is it under epilepsy? So you can see here charlieschance.org. We will put this in chat as well.
Okay.
I just want to make sure the Facebook stream is seeing this, and it is. So for things to do when you see somebody having a seizure, would that be under epilepsy education?
It would be, yes, it's under the epilepsy education one.
Okay, perfect. Oh, and it goes right to the Epilepsy Foundation's page on it. Yeah. Perfect.
That kind of gives you just kind of an overview. And then once you click on, sorry, I'm trying to look at it with you. Yeah, once you click view course, then it'll take you and it'll go through the course with you. And then by the end, you'll be certified once you take the little test.
I feel like this should be taught in schools. This should be like part of a classroom for everybody, because like we talked about, eventually in your life, 1 out of 10, a seizure may have an influence on you. But if we're taking that stats, it may have an influence on someone in your family, some of your friends, those types of things. Now, you said you founded Charlie's Chance and you're waiting for your nonprofit. What's that process like? I've never been through that process.
Yeah, so you have to write your letter and you go through all the things. And it's actually been great because Charlie's dad, my Uncle Tim, he is a lawyer. So he's been able to kind of take us through those steps and help us a lot with getting it. And we're waiting impatiently on the determination letter. We're hoping that it'll come in sometime this summer. But I really just feel like that will give me that extra push just to be able to do things, as a Charlie's Chance event. And it'll just kind of give me that ability to do things more on my own, I guess.
Yeah. But that's not to stop anybody if they're looking to donate into the epilepsy community. So there is an opportunity to do that on charlieschance.org, correct?
Yes. And that will go straight to the Epilepsy Foundation of America.
And have you guys done any fundraising in the past?
Yes. So as an ambassador for them, I was able to kind of co-plan an event that they had at Top Golf. I guess that was last summer. But so it was last summer, it was at Top Golf, and they raised over $150,000. And it went right back into the epilepsy community. And it was really awesome. That was, I think, one of the biggest events that they've ever had fundraising wise. So that's one of the great things about being an ambassador is, really getting to be a part of that and to really be hands-on with that.
Now, if there's somebody that's looking to get involved in the community and become an ambassador, what does that take to become an ambassador?
Yeah, so really it is chosen based off of kind of the advocacy work that you've done. So if you want to get involved, start attending events. You can, if you have maybe a family member that has epilepsy or a friend that has epilepsy, kind of work with them, ask them what they think you can do to help, because it really is, they find you kind of based off of the advocacy work that you've done.
And I recommend anybody that's maybe a sibling or a family advocate to start getting involved like this. There's a lot of unknown questions in the disability community. And I think the first part is making sure that you're involved in that loop and engaged in that community. And that looks like joining communities, becoming ambassadors, those types of things.
Yes. And you can also go to the Epilepsy Foundation website, and that'll give you a little bit more information about specifically how you can become an ambassador.
So just a little background for the community. You're all familiar with Hannah Wilson. And so Hannah is Elaina's aunt, correct?
Yes. So
Yes.
Charlie's mom.
Yep, Charlie's mom. So to make that connection there. What would you say to a sibling or a family member and their family member has a disability? What would you kind of say to them I feel like sometimes we don't shine enough light on siblings and other family members, and we really focus on the individual and the parents, but it is a family dynamic there. What would you say to maybe a brother or sister?
So one of the things that was kind of a common theme at EpiCon that I heard quite a few times when people were going through their stories is that epilepsy can really tend to give you an isolating feeling. And I think that kind of goes for obviously the patient, but I think that can go for the family as a whole too. So I would tell that family just that you're not alone and that there's a community that wants to help you. And that was, I feel like, what was really special about EpiCon is that I saw the epilepsy community just really rally around together and come together. And I think that if I could tell maybe a parent or a sibling something, it would just be that, there are so many resources that you can reach out to get the help that you need. And just that you're not alone and there's people that want to help you.
Yeah, it can feel kind of isolating, is what I've heard speaking with families and individuals. So making those personal connections, those that have been in the trenches, that have done what you're doing, that have been through it, that can, kind of be a peer advocate, those types of things, getting connected. What was one of the most impactful things you learned from the convention?
So I've talked a lot about the community that I saw together. So I think that just the number one thing was that I saw that when that community came together, it was a very strong force. And I think that can kind of go for all aspects of life. When a community comes together, it's a very powerful thing. And I really saw that at EpiCon with the epilepsy community, and just that it was a very strong force. And I feel like that was really important for me just because I saw that, when a group of people come together and want to make a difference, it is a very powerful thing.
Power in numbers. You get like-minded people together in one.
Power in numbers.
You get a lot of like-minded people together in one room. You don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the YouTube video. And just for anybody that hasn't seen that yet, let me go ahead and share my screen. Share. No, don't want that one. Boom, boom. Okay, now let's share. And can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Can you hear this?
Across the nation. Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. So let's go back to the beginning. And So this is Elaina. She went up to, as we talked about, to Nashville, Tennessee. And while she was there, she's got this cool, really cool microphone that is really expensive. And we got her a microphone to go up there, and she wanted to talk with others at the conference. And we were like, heck, we'll get your microphone and you can do some recording with the camera. And we got some really cool footage back. And then what we were able to do is kind of splice these together into a YouTube video talking about a point of view from a participant at EpiCon. And we're going to do a reaction to this. So we're going to start it off here. And I haven't watched this whole thing. So a lot of this is going to be new to me.
Yeah.
It's Elaina Burt, and I'm here at EpiCon. We are in Nashville, Tennessee, and this fit is put on by the.
So not the best mics, I'll have to say. And I think
That
we
was
should.
partly on me too. I was holding it a little too close, so I'm sorry, y'all.
Well, it's tough because you don't hear the feedback on it.
Right.
So like it's not instant. And I think maybe we should get one of these for those mics. It'll help dampen it a little bit. So that's kind of on me.
Epilepsy Foundation of America. We're here at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel, so I'm super excited. And we're just about to go into the conference room and get started with some interviews. There are so many awesome resources here, and it's going to be epic.
Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Franklin, Regional Director with Epilepsy Foundation of America. We're so glad.
So we've had Sarah on the broadcast before.
Yes. So Sarah, she was already kind of really close with my Aunt Hannah, and Charlie and Tim. And so once I kind of started getting involved, I got connected with her, and she is just such a rock star. I hope that someday I could be just like a tenth of the work that she does. She advocates and she advocates. I mean, she's just such a rock star, and she's such an amazing advocate. She actually has her own epilepsy journey. And so she has really gotten to advocate on behalf of the epilepsy community.
And she's an author for the Epilepsy Foundation.
Yes. She does a lot of work. She's, I think, the Southeast Regional Director. So she covers our little area.
She is just such an awesome friend of mine. But so tell me a little bit about what it was like setting up EpiCon. This is actually in your territory, so I bet that's exciting.
Yes, we're so excited to be here for.
So I have a question for you. I know you've done a decent amount of talking with others. Most of that time, it is people asking you questions and you being interviewed. Hey, Grandma, I'm doing a live broadcast real quick. Yeah, okay. So everybody, this is my grandmother.
Love it.
Grandma, why don't you say hi? Hi. This is the camera up there. This is Elaina Burt, and she went to an epilepsy convention up in Nashville.
Okay.
And she took some footage, and we're made that into a YouTube video, and we're talking about that now.
Okay.
She is a family advocate. One of her cousins has epilepsy.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So there's a bonus for today, guys.
Bonus appearance. Guest star.
So you're used to being interviewed. What's it like kind of on the other end of the microphone?
Yeah, it's definitely very different. I mean, I think for obvious reasons, it's quite literally like the opposite of everything that I've ever done. But it was really cool just to be on that side of getting to hear the story and getting to hear what the people had to say. I heard story after story of just all the different experiences that people had had. And it was really cool just to not only meet all the new people, but really just to get to talk to them, to hear all their experiences.
Yeah. It's a little bit different experience of being interviewed to doing the
For
interview.
sure. Definitely.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect.
And I know Elaina and I are both from Alabama. So
And in chat, if you guys are having trouble seeing or hearing any of this, please let me know.
I love people with epilepsy from across the nation. Flew in for a weekend-long conference, and after 2 years of virtual meetings, we love seeing people in the squares, but seeing people in actual real life, giving them hugs, people that have never met before in real life, but it's just been an amazing.
It's such a big thing, being in person, going back to in person. I know like today, a lot of the schools have done virtual for the past few years. That would not have been very good for me while I was in school.
Yeah, and that's the number one thing. As soon as I started talking to Sarah, she was just like, I'm so excited to be here. We weren't sure for a long time if we were going to get to have it. in person. So I think that was the number one thing for a lot of the people that were setting it up, was just that they were excited that it was in person.
Yeah, oh, I love that. Oh, come on, internet. Don't do that. We'll give it a second. Come on, little hotspot. Let me stop sharing. And let me refresh the page. If I can get it going.
Love the internet, don't we?
Well, it's funny because we're still live, but YouTube just wasn't.
Yeah.
So it's like a YouTube thing real quick. I'm going to shut down that web page and we're just going to open up another YouTube.
Alrighty.
Hey, Grandma, since you're on the screen, can we get a little insight? What would you say to a family member of somebody that has a disability, like maybe a brother or sister or sibling? Or let's take it from your perspective. What would you say to a mom? And speak loud enough that this microphone. Elaina, can you hear her?
I can.
Okay. You're on camera, so I'm going to throw you in the.
I don't know what I would say. I understand. You never know when it's going to happen. That's one thing that's hard about it. Yeah.
And for anyone unfamiliar, my grandmother, Laura, is a mother to 3 beautiful daughters. One of them my mom, another one my aunt, or both of them my aunt. And then her youngest has a disability, my aunt. So she has 57 years of experience of being a mom to a person with a disability.
Wow.
Okay.
Sounds awesome.
Okay, got it back up. I'm going to go ahead and reshare my screen here. And can you see this?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. It's like as soon as I get on the video, it just doesn't want to play. Everything before that.
Get those seizures under
There we go.
control. And no matter if you're a caregiver of someone with epilepsy or seizures strike in your own life, it turns your world upside down in a number of ways. And so my mission here with my job is just to encourage people along the journey and help them aim for the lowest amount of seizures we can in their life.
So there are differences that individuals and families can do to reduce seizures.
Yeah, so that really, it kind of depends. That's more of I guess a doctor thing. I'll be honest, I'm not totally sure how it works on, the different kinds of ways that different diagnoses, what that looks like. But I think that's more of a doctor thing, just based on, maybe the amount of seizures that someone has a day. And it just varies really based on the patient.
I've heard that it's a tough navigation of that because you really don't know how the medication is going to interact with each person. Right. And so sometimes it can take 5-10 years to find the perfect balance of prescriptions there. And even as you age, you may need to change that. We've been very fortunate that my aunt, my family member, she has had seizures throughout her life. But, she's 57. I think her last seizure was maybe 7-8 years ago. So we've been very fortunate there, but it has been a lot of back and forth with the doctors.
Yeah, it's very unpredictable, especially on the medicine side of it.
Mm-hmm.
What y'all are doing with the Epilepsy Foundation of America is doing here. It's just so awesome, and we're so glad that we were actually able to have this event in person.
Well, and we thank you, Elaina, for being an epilepsy awareness ambassador.
Don't you know?
No, it was doing so good.
I'm going to switch over to a different internet if I can. Okay, you still there?
Yes.
All right, Grandma, you got to say bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
It's the first time that's why I love going live, because you never know what's going to happen.
You never know. We had a little guest star.
All right, let me, now that I'm on the new internet, let me pull it up again.
Okay.
Let me go there. We'll go there.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elaina Burt, and I'm here at EpiCon. We are in Nashville, Tennessee, and this event is put on by the Epilepsy Foundation of America. We're here. Thank you, Miss Sarah. Tell me a little bit about just kind of your story and what you're doing here at EpiCon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I am from Seattle, and I am at EpiCon to really tell my story, dive into the storytelling method of creative content. And
So this was an individual that has epilepsy.
Yes, and one of my favorite things about Natalie, it was really cool because I feel like in epilepsy, we hear a lot about kind of the pediatric side and we hear a lot about the adult side of it. But kind of that like in between area tends to get skipped, I feel like. But it was really cool just to hear from Natalie, and you'll probably hear in a minute, but she talked about just kind of being present in the struggles. It's okay to be struggling, but she talked about how you can come out better on the other side. So it was really cool just to hear from maybe kind of that in between age that doesn't get talked about a lot. It was cool to hear from her.
Yeah.
I decided to write my own book and really wanted to share that with the epilepsy community. And I found that EpiCon really just provided a good platform to be able to do that.
So tell me a little bit about, as a young person and writing behind, what was it like just kind of walking through that and writing really just your own memoir?
Yeah, it was tough. It wasn't just sit down at the laptop and boom, it's done.
I'm sure.
I wish it was like that, but it's not. It was really just kind of a compilation of journals that I had written.
I love that. So she's journaling and she's talking about her. Like, I feel like journaling is such an important part if you're going through, a struggle of learning something new, to be able to get your feelings out, how you're doing out on paper, or if you're documenting it through a blog, I think is really important. So she was doing that already kind of as therapy there. And then she's looking at all these journals and saying, you know what, this may help somebody else in the community.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like she said, it wasn't, that she was just able to sit down one time thing at a computer and write the whole book. It was kind of her compilation of all of her journals that she had written.
If I tried to sit down on a computer and do something like that, it would take me, I would be looking at nothing for like 2 years.
Same.
Written as I had gone through my diagnosis, as I had experienced these different things in my life. And a lot of the times it was just putting that together in a way that I felt represented my journey and what I wanted to support other people and who were going through a similar diagnosis, especially at the time of life that I had. I just got diagnosed in my freshman year after my first semester. So it was really hard to meet.
That's such a crazy time. That's so crucial for like transitioning to adulthood there.
I know. And that's already such, I feel like, a big part of life, like getting into college, figuring out kind of that new lifestyle. So she had kind of 2 new lifestyles come on, I feel like.
Yeah.
Friends that you were supposed to.
Where did she say she was from? Was she in the
Seattle?
South? Seattle. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So really people from all around the country come.
Oh, yeah.
It's a huge event. Did you meet anybody there that was out of the States?
I did not see anyone. There might have been someone that I didn't get a chance to talk to, but everyone I talked to, they were maybe forever away from us, but they were from the States.
Be lifelong friends with, and then you have to medically withdraw for a year. So I definitely think that there's a lot of social aspects that were really hard, and that leads to a lot of emotional, difficulties. So epilepsy just affects all parts.
Yeah, she's saying she basically had to stop what she was doing for about a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she had to medically withdraw. So I think that kind of added to just that new phase of life, but then she had to withdraw. So she had just made kind of all those new college friends, and then she had to withdraw. So I'm sure that was hard.
Did she go back? Did she go back the next year?
Yes, I'm not sure if it ended up having to be a little bit over a year maybe, but she did eventually go back.
You guys are going to have to buy this book to hear about this journey.
Your life, so.
Right. So if we had a listener that say was just diagnosed with epilepsy, what is one
Great question.
thing that, if you could tell them, one thing that you would tell them?
I would say that your story matters. I would say that what you're feeling matters. I would say if you don't know what's happening, don't feel guilty about that. really just let yourself feel what's going on, and then just lean on the people around you.
That's so awesome. I feel like that is kind of a glimpse of what your book was. Based on what you've said about it, I feel like it's really awesome that you were able to put those feelings on paper and write your book. So tell us if...
So right there, she's saying for somebody going through a new experience, it's okay to not know all the answers.
Right.
And really lean on those closest to you.
Especially with a new diagnosis, you're really not going to know, probably every answer that you want to know at that point.
Yeah.
There's a listener that wants to get access to your book, how they can get to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can just go to NatalieRobinsonBehind.com and you can grab a copy there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Natalie.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Oh, she seems really cool.
Yeah, she was awesome.
Yeah.
And you can
Great
grab a copy
questions.
there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Natalie.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Hi, my name is Susanna Price.
So this is the first time we've done this. I love that you did this and that Alabama Care is doing this, going and then getting the interviews and kind of clipping them together. I love this.
I know. I love it. If it wasn't for that darn mic, I'm sorry it sounds like that.
It's a learning process. This is our first time doing it. So it'll be better next time.
Yeah.
Diagnosed with epilepsy 20 years ago now. So I have lived with it most of my adult life, but along the way, I learned a lot about endurance and being patient with myself, hope, and I found strength.
Here you're hearing it again. The first girl was saying, you don't have to know all the answers. And this individual is saying, be patient. And that's kind of a common theme I'm hearing.
Right. Yeah, I loved Miss Susanna. I got to tell you, she was just so confident in her journey and just kind of the experiences that she had. And like she said, she was diagnosed 20 years ago. So that was most of her adult life. So she just had so much knowledge and she was just confident in her journey and the experience that she had gone through. So I really loved her.
I never knew I had faith. I prayed and I wrote and I journaled.
You're hearing it again, writing and journaling.
Yes.
So crucial.
And ultimately,
So I journal every day. I do
That's
is
awesome.
so I get a big art book. It can't have lines in it. So I don't like having lines in it. I have to kind of free flow.
Yeah.
I've got like 20 of these filled up.
I love it. That's awesome.
You gotta get stuff out and down on paper. It really helps.
Right. I totally agree.
answer was a brain surgery, but I expressed and shared my life lessons in this memoir that was published last year, and it's called Seized and Driven, and it is available on Amazon Kindle or paperback. And now I love to share. I am no longer afraid to talk about it like I was initially, and I will talk.
Do you think that some individuals, well, she said she was afraid to talk about it.
I definitely think that, some patients, especially when first diagnosed, I definitely feel like they're kind of afraid to talk about it just because maybe they don't know how people will react. Like I talked about when we were talking about the seizures, I think that a lot of times maybe an epilepsy patient will feel like just kind of isolated and just like nobody would understand maybe. So I definitely think that, especially at the beginning of a diagnosis, a patient is definitely afraid to talk about it.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people throughout our lives, we come across situations like that where maybe we feel like we don't want to reach out or how other people are going to react or what decision they're going to be. And something that always helps me in that point is like, well, if I don't reach out or I don't take this action, then I'm actually making a decision for whoever I was going to reach out to. Are they going to say yes or no?
Right.
And it's not up to me to make that decision for them. That's limiting them. So my job is only to take the action to make the initiative, and they'll react how they're going to react. But if I don't do that, I've made the decision for them, and that's not the way to do it.
Right.
That
And
helps
also back to how there is just kind of this stigma that surrounds epilepsy. But it was great that she kind of was able to get past that, and she's confident talking about it. So
Yeah, she seems very confident here. And this is the second author.
yes.
and share about it with anyone and everyone, because there's so much that needs to be understood. And like I said, I've learned and I love with hope, and I have a greater understanding and compassion for others. And that's been a huge life lesson for me too. So I'm very happy to be here and love sharing what I've learned.
Now, where was Susanna from?
Oh goodness.
From the South? I'm putting you on the spot here.
I'm trying to remember. I don't think she said it in the video. Oh my goodness.
That's okay. That's okay.
So tell me a little bit about what you have here and what you're doing at EpiCon.
So I came to share my story.
So how did you initiate this part here? Did you say, hey, we're out here recording, just if you want to introduce yourself?
So the day before, I had kind of made my rounds through, and I was just saying, I introduced myself, and I just said I'm going to come back through tomorrow morning. And I just kind of asked them if they would be okay with me interviewing them. And then I came back to those same people that next morning. And I kind of told her, I was just like, we can do the interview. And then if you want, you can also have a little kind of blip of just you talking, and you can talk about your book. And she was all about that. So she had a little just kind of moment to talk about her journey and her book.
Yeah. So going around the day before and introducing yourself, a great technique there. Reaching out first. So it's kind of a soft open.
Right.
And you get a lot less no's, that type of thing. As your mom is probably very good at that in her profession.
Yeah. I know. She does a lot of that.
So my mom does the exact same profession, different company.
Gotcha.
Lesson for me too. So I came to share my story, which is a story of hope and a journey of the trials and tribulations of living with epilepsy. I was diagnosed 20 years ago. And 4 years ago now, I had a laser ablation. And that was my ultimate answer.
What's the laser ablation?
I was kind of thinking the same thing when she said that, I'll be honest, but I think it lasers off part of, I guess, whatever part of the brain that's causing the trouble, maybe.
That is misfiring a little bit.
If someone's listening and knows I'm totally wrong, I'm sorry, but that's just kind of what I gathered from what she was kind of saying when she talked about it.
Let me see here.
Epilepsy. I was diagnosed 20 years ago. And 4 years ago now, I had a laser ablation.
Laser ablation? Laser ablation is a process of removing material from a solid or occasionally liquid surface by irradiating it with a laser beam. So I imagine it's kind of like what they will do for some like cancers in the body where they can kind of shock it. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess they kind of went in and maybe just kind of, like you said, shocked that part of the brain, maybe.
Yeah. I'll have to do some research on
And
that.
that was my ultimate answer. But along the way, I learned a lot about myself and life and living with a chronic condition. And I had a lot to share. So I decided I needed to write it all down.
That's so awesome. My cousin Charlie, she's 5, and she was diagnosed with epilepsy when she was 1. And they're actually here. So it's been really cool to see this community rally around together. And it's awesome that you're here sharing your story and just kind of your journey. So do you have a way that our listeners can get in contact with you if they want to learn more about your story and just kind of your journey?
Yes. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram, like most of the free world.
Yes.
And then my book is also available on Amazon, Kindle, and paperback. And I speak, and I will speak about it until the day I die, probably.
So we'll go ahead and put all these links in the chat as well.
Awesome. And what's the name of your book?
It is called Seized and Driven, and this was published last year. And like I said, it's a conglomeration of lots of years of journaling and marriage and family. And
Awesome. So if we have a listener that say their child just got diagnosed
Great question.
with epilepsy, if there's one thing you could tell them, what would you say?
oh boy, so I didn't have it as a child, and now as a parent, I can only imagine. All I can say is you are your own best advocate. And if you have any doubt, follow your gut, because if that particular doctor or specialist doesn't have your answer,
That's not the end all be all.
You can tell when she's answering, she's in the zone. She's remembering from past experiences. It sounds like she had a disagreement with the doctor and she had to go to like another doctor or figure that out. You can see when she's talking about it
There's somebody else, there's another, so the great
right there. She's in
thing
that
about
moment.
Yeah.
neurological conditions in general is that there's so much research being done.
Right.
So find the next one and who can help you. Somebody can, and we
So she's kind of saying, if you're struggling and maybe the doctors aren't hearing you, keep going, find another doctor.
Go with gut. Yeah.
Yeah.
cannot ever stop fighting.
Awesome. You're awesome, Miss Susanna. Thank you for talking to me.
Of course.
I'm here with Miss Kate.
She seems really cool as well.
Yeah.
She is the founder of the Cute Syndrome Foundation.
I'm not the founder.
Not the founder?
I'm a member of the executive.
Member. So tell me a little bit about just kind of what this foundation does.
So we provide support. We help fund research for SCN8A. It's a gene mutation. A lot of our kids, most of our kids have epilepsy because of this gene mutation. So we're here to spread awareness about it and find more families that need support.
Awesome. Have y'all had fun at EpiCon? What's been your favorite part?
I think just meeting everybody.
Once again, in person, being together, the
Yeah.
connecting on a personal level there.
And finding new families, talking with people from the Epilepsy Foundation and sharing our story with everybody.
That's awesome. So speaking of your story, I see we have a warrior over here. You said Miss Lily, right?
It is.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about her story.
So Lily is 24
Great question.
years old. She was diagnosed with SCN8A when she was 15. So it took a long time to get a diagnosis. SCN8A wasn't discovered till 2010. And then when whole exome testing came out, that's when we got a diagnosis.
So how can, if we have any listeners that want to get in touch with y'all and maybe even learn about Lily's story, how can they get in touch with y'all?
So we have a website, thecutesyndrome.com, and feel free to check it out. And there's ways, if you have SCN8A and want to join our Facebook support group, families, we're a small community. But we know there's a lot of kids out there, a lot of people out there.
Awesome. Okay, and I gotta close this out. We're in Nashville, Country Music City. Who is your favorite country music artist?
I'm gonna have to say Dolly Parton.
Great question, kind of relating and geographically relevant.
Yes.
We're from
Class
Knoxville.
Music City. Who is your favorite country music artist?
I'm gonna have to say Dolly Parton. We're from
Dolly
Knoxville,
Parton.
Tennessee, and she's in Sevierville, so.
Classic. I love it.
Good morning. My name is Lynn Palmer. I'm a warrior of epilepsy, and I'm also a survivor of a suicide attempt. Please join
Oh
me
my
on
gosh.
on my Facebook group, Epilepsy, Picking Up the Pieces. No, you are not alone. Neither am I. Let's do this together and fight the fight. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about what you're doing here at EpiCon and just kind of what brought you here.
See, the microphone sounds really good there.
Yeah. So I actually have a story about Miss Lynn. So she actually wasn't even really like a scheduled interview. We were all sitting at the breakfast table, just kind of in the big ballroom, and we didn't know her. We had just kind of like coincidentally sat at the same table, and she started just kind of talking and telling her story. And I was like, well, would you be okay if I interviewed you? And she was like, yeah. So she wasn't a vendor. She wasn't there with any kind of like organization. But it was really cool just to kind of meet her. And then she was good with getting interviewed. So she's awesome.
You never know who you're going to meet.
Good morning.
Yeah.
I have had epilepsy for almost 15 years, and my passion.
I'm picking up sometimes that there's not a diagnosis with the child. Sometimes,
Right.
Some people are saying they get diagnosed in their teens.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of times it can either take a long time or like kind of how Karen was saying with the Cute Syndrome Foundation. She maybe like didn't get the full diagnosis. So I think a lot of times it either takes longer or maybe they don't get the full diagnosis at that time.
And that's what they're saying is like, don't get frustrated. You're not going to know all the answers, but you got to
Right.
go through it. Okay.
Is advocacy, and I was really excited to get back into actually coming to conventions and conferences
Again, in person.
because it just feels
I know.
good to be around people that truly understand what we go through and on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of what a difference this event is making, and it's just kind of bringing a community and saying you're not alone and we're here with you. And we were talking earlier just a little bit about the ways that epilepsy has affected your life that maybe people wouldn't have necessarily thought of when they thought of
Great
how
question.
epilepsy could affect you. So tell me a little bit about just what the impact it's made in your life.
Okay. One of the biggest things is there is so much loss that happens with epilepsy. I was 33 years old when my first seizure occurred. My daughter was 3. I had a career in as a school social worker. It was my calling, and I did it for 11 and a half years. And it was in a small community. And they just became tired of me having seizures and not being able to drive. And they found a way to get rid of me. So
I'm pretty sure that's a violation of some sorts.
You would think so. I'm not totally sure, but I mean, you sure would think it would be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on each state is different. Like Alabama's a right to work state, so there's not as much stuff that the employee can do, but
Right.
that just seems really bad.
Yeah.
I lost my ability to drive. Losing my income caused me to lose my house. On the day that I had to do a short sale on my house,
Oh my gosh, this is crazy.
I know.
my little Yorkie that was 5 pounds, she got ran over. So it just all took over, and you eventually lose your friends that, get tired of picking you up out of the floor in restaurants and stores and off the beach. And it just goes on and on. And it's just an ongoing thing that seems to never go away. I could talk forever, but I won't.
I feel like that clip is a really good audio for a TikTok, because that is that story that she's telling right there is going back to the isolation, and feeling all on your own. But here she is getting back in the community.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, that is just incredible. I think that a lot of people, when they think epilepsy, they don't see that side of it. I think that you are a prime example of, you've been able to pick yourself up out of that trench. And you talked a little bit to me about how you have your Facebook group that's kind of like a support group for other people with epilepsy. So tell them a little bit about that if we have any listeners that would maybe want to join your group.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The name of the group is Epilepsy Picking Up the Pieces. It's a Facebook group, and it's not only just for people with epilepsy. It's also for families, caretakers as well, and also for individuals that are just genuinely interested in epilepsy. And what I focus on in that group is how it affects us, loss, anger, injustice, depression. I will share with you, Elaina, that I'm also a survivor of a suicide attempt, because I just broke September 25th, which was the day before my daughter's 18th birthday. I broke on the day of her birthday party last September. And I never forgave myself for that. But it just became too much. And so advocacy for our mental health, because it's something that is often overlooked. Our doctors, our clinicians are not trained to deal with our mental health, is my passion. And it's time. Now is the time for someone to do something about it. And that's why I'm here. Wow.
I agree. I don't think the mental health side of it gets talked about as much.
Right. Yeah, it's totally overlooked. And I think that also kind of feeds into that stigma that I was talking about earlier, especially kind of the mental health aspect of it. It's just kind of pushed to the side a little bit, I feel like. So I think that's why advocacy like this is so important.
Yeah. A lot of times you'll hear jargon like, well, what waiver are you on? Or what waiver does your family member have? Have you gone to this organization? Are you receiving these services? But not as much about, how are you feeling today?
Right.
What struggles are you going through? And you can see by talking here, it's a little bit of a healing for her too, to share that story and get it off her shoulders.
Yeah, I think the fact that, she was comfortable enough to talk about it, I feel like is kind of an accomplishment for her. I feel like just her, feeling empowered enough to talk about it, and just the fact that she is on the other side now, I think was a big step for her. I feel like.
And it's a big thing for you. You've made her feel comfortable to share that
Yeah.
story and setting that framework. So
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a hug. You are incredible, Miss Lynn. It was awesome talking to you. I'm here with the Danny Did Foundation with Katie and Lauren. So tell me a little bit, I know there's a long story behind Danny Did, so tell me a little bit about just kind of what the inspiration was.
Absolutely. Danny Did got started by Mike and Mary in Stanton. We're all from Chicago. They live on the northwest side of the city.
did you get a bunch of swag when you were up there? I always swipe swag.
Oh my gosh, they had so much. You said it like swag, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had so much like pens and papers and notepads and water bottles, chapstick, like everything you can think of. They had it at all the little vendors.
I always pick up swag whenever I go to conventions. Like all the
Yeah.
pens I always put
Oh,
over.
I know. I think we
Amazon.
picked up probably a total of like 20 pens by the end of the weekend.
One of my favorite snags is this one I got. I love
that-
these like water,
Yeah.
little Yeti kind of things.
They didn't have any of those, but that would have been nice. They did have water bottles though.
Yeah, I'm always picking up stuff.
Yeah.
They started this foundation after their son Danny passed away from SUDEP. And after Danny passed away, they found out about SUDEP. That was the first time they've heard that word, sudden unexpected.
What is that? SUDEP?
So it stands for sudden unexpected death of epilepsy, but it's basically like when you have a seizure in your sleep, and then it's sudden and unexpected.
And then maybe you're not able to roll over on your side, or maybe
Right.
you swallow
Yeah.
your tongue, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Gotcha.
Death and epilepsy. So the questions came up immediately. Why didn't we know about it? Could we have done something different? Could we have gotten the device in place? So they used those questions and started the Danny Did Foundation.
Device in place. What do you think she meant there?
I think maybe some kind of device that could have prevented it in the brain. But like she said, they had Danny's parents had never even heard of SUDEP. So I mean, they had no clue what was going on or why it happened or what they could have done, like she said, to prevent it. But I guess that the device she's talking about would just be some kind of device in his brain that could have prevented it, I guess.
Danny Did comes from the last line in Danny's obituary, "Go enjoy your life, Danny Did." Wow. So what we do here is raise awareness around SUDEP. We're encouraging doctors to have that conversation. As hard as it may be with families, knowledge is power, right? So we're encouraging them to talk about it. And then once you learn about it, you can do things to come up with a really great seizure action plan, get a device in place, and hopefully that'll be a game changer for some families. So our other big program at Danny Did is that we...
You don't have to share if you don't, but does Charlie have any devices?
I don't think she does. She does obviously take medication, but I don't think she has any devices.
That's a new thing to me. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Help families get devices in their home. So if you're looking at a device, you can reach out to Danny Did. We'll do what we can to help you. We work with families and not companies. So it's really about talking with families, helping them, and then help them with funding to get the device in their home. We know that they can be expensive, and we know that insurance isn't covering them.
That's so, I feel like insurance should definitely cover. There's a lot of stuff that insurance is just haggling about that I hear about. And it's like, dude, you guys need to call.
There's so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to help them. It's not the silver bullet that we're all hoping for. It's not the cure, but it's an extra layer of support. And hopefully it's going to provide a little bit of peace to the family and to the individual facing epilepsy.
Absolutely. And what are some of your favorite events that y'all have done? I'm sure y'all have all kind of events. And what has been some of y'all's major ones or ones that you really enjoyed?
I bet she's going to say this EpiCon right now.
Yeah. So every year we do the Hearts of Hugs event. It's
Nope.
Our largest event of the year. It's a beautiful gala down.
I thought she did too. I didn't know.
in Lake Michigan, on Lake Michigan. It's a beautiful night. We get to talk about Danny, tell his story, and then talk about the impact that his foundation is having on individuals and their families facing epilepsy. So that is a great one. We have one coming up June 10th. Our associate.
So we'll put that stuff in the
Laughter
chat. We'll put the link to
Good
them.
Medicine. So it's going to be great fun. It's at the and then there's just really great people who are fundraising all the time, all year round. So have an awareness campaign in several airports, and there's big billboards. You see Sweet Danny.
That's a pretty good spot to do awareness for the broader society. I didn't think of that.
I know.
Huh.
His face, and he truly stops you in your tracks, and you get to read about epilepsy. And
Has Charlie ever flown?
No, they haven't. They drove to Nashville, and yeah, I don't think she's ever flown anywhere.
I've heard horror stories of individuals who use wheelchairs and flying.
Mhm. Oh, I'm sure.
That experience.
Yeah. And I did look it up, that the seizure device they have, and it's basically like a detection device for the seizures. So it detects the seizures.
Is it still implanted? Or is it something like in the room? The way she was kind of going through it,
Yeah, I think
sounded
it's
like it's something in the room.
implanted. I think it's implanted.
We'll put that in the chat. People can look at that. We don't have to come up with that now.
really encourage people to reach out to us. Oh, don't think it's Austin? Oh gosh, hopefully that's not wrong, but
And we'll kind of pass the mic, but what has been y'all's kind of experience at EpiCon? What's been y'all's favorite part?
so my favorite part is getting to meet people and chat about their experiences and letting them know about Danny and his story and how we're using that to go ahead.
Yeah, it's been a really great experience. I actually got to speak on the SUDEP panel. Awesome. So that was really cool. Just to be able to hear other people's stories who were sitting in on this.
So getting to meet people, being in person, sharing stories.
Getting to go to some of the other sessions, more epilepsy, and kind of get to learn what else is out there with sport and everything.
Right. And like you said, I think that this can be a very isolating thing. So that's what's so great about EpiCon, is that it's bringing this community together and it's saying you are not alone. But so, okay, I gotta ask, we are in the country music city capital. So tell me, what is your favorite music artist, song?
I'm a big Chris Stapleton fan.
Love it. I love it.
Chris Stapleton. Let's do them all day long. So.
Awesome. You got one, or not big on country?
I would have to actually say my first concert ever was Blake Shelton and Brad Paisley.
I don't know any of these people.
Chopper-Ready Foundation. Y'all are just great.
And one little thing about Danny did, so I can't remember if they said it in the interview or not, but they only have 3 full-time employees and the rest are volunteers. That like blew my mind with how big of a foundation they are, just that they only had 3 that were full-time and the rest were just volunteers. But I love Danny did. I liked talking to them.
The 2 ladies that you're speaking with, are they volunteers?
The one on the left, she said she was one of the full-times, and then the other one's a volunteer.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, if they're doing awareness in airports, I would think 20 people full-time, that kind of stuff, or more.
Yeah, they were amazing.
And also that helps for donors. If you can prove that you don't have a bloated budget and you're not paying them, the staff a ton of money, it's going to the individuals. It's a really good thing for them.
Right.
I'm here with Dr. Chopper-Ready. So tell me.
Is that children's?
Yes. Yeah, they were at Vanderbilt.
About where y'all are based out of, and just kind of what you're doing here at EpiCon.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So my name is Chopper-Ready. I'm one of the.
Something just hit me. Does every town, every big city have a children's hospital? I thought children's was like kind of a proprietary thing here in Birmingham.
I know. I kind of thought that too. And then I think they do have one for pretty much every kind of big city throughout the country. But I think it's kind of one for every like big city.
Pediatric epileptologist at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital here in Nashville. So what I do is I treat a lot of kids with epilepsy, seizure disorders, and help them kind of find the right treatment.
Awesome. So what does that look like, kind of having a patient come in day one, just kind of going through that journey? What does that look like for you and for the patient?
So the first thing I want to do is kind of establish what brings them to see me, what kind of seizures they're having, how often they're having them, and then we decide what kind of treatment and workup that we want to do from there. A lot of times it will depend on what type of epilepsy they have. A lot of times it also depends on kind of the family and the patient and what they're looking for, what their goals are. So I try to establish that pretty early on so we can have a good relationship moving forward.
Awesome. So what has been your favorite part about EpiCon? We're in this massive hotel and there's all these new people. So what has
She said, what is your specific type of epilepsy? And for people unfamiliar, there's a broad range of types of epilepsy, correct?
Yeah. And I kind of like we talked about with, what's her name? Karen. Yeah. Miss Karen, with the Acute Syndrome Foundation. So that's like Charlie, she has a gene mutation and hers is called, SMC1A, and that's what causes her seizures. So there's kind of a broad kind of range of what different kind of epilepsy can look like in the different patients.
has been your favorite part?
And I think that's why it's so tough to find the right medication, because each individual is affected differently.
Honestly, I'm just blown away by the people's questions, people's journeys and stories. I get a lot of that, being in clinic and getting to meet families and kids with epilepsy, but the volume and like the amount of passion that's in this room is just mind blowing. So
I totally agree. My cousin Charlie was diagnosed with epilepsy when she was 1 and she's 5. And so kind of our whole family is here to support her, but it's really cool just to see this community kind of rally around together. So if you had a patient that came in, they just got diagnosed with epilepsy and you could tell them and their family one thing, what would you tell them?
Great question.
I would tell them that they're not alone and there's no end of the line. We are all in this journey together and there's always resources and people that can help you through the journey.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. Nice meeting you. And she's with Children's of Alabama. I actually live in
Representing. Okay.
Yeah.
real close. But tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing here at EpiCon.
Well, we are here, myself and our epilepsy nurse representing the epilepsy program at Children's of Alabama and UAB School of Medicine. I'm one of the pediatric epileptologists there, so I take care of all kinds of children and young adults with epilepsy, and we're just here trying to support EpiCon and all the sort of patients, advocates, caregivers who are here. It's been really fun.
That's awesome. My cousin Charlie, she was diagnosed when she was 1 and she's now 5. I don't know if you've seen her around, but
Yes, I know Charlie.
yes, they're here and Children's has just worked wonders in her life as well. So I know they're super grateful for y'all. But so tell me just kind of what does your day-to-day life look like at Children's?
Oh gosh,
It's kind of probably a loaded question.
Yeah, every day is so different. But yeah, I kind of alternate between seeing patients in the clinic, seeing patients in the hospital in the epilepsy monitoring unit, and reading EEGs. So the whole spectrum.
Awesome. And I gotta ask, what has been your favorite part about this hotel? We were talking down there earlier, and this is such.
Was it a pretty cool hotel?
Oh, it was awesome. It was just so big. I think we got lost. Like every time we went to the room, it felt like we went a different way to get there.
Did they have a rooftop pool or anything?
They did. If they did, I didn't find it. But I guess you would consider it kind of like the main area where all the rooms are. It looks like a jungle. Like it was all these it looked like you were outside.
Wow.
It was really cool.
A massive hotel. So what has been your favorite part?
And I think just feeling like you're in a rainforest.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I took my step to the car that I had not been actually outside this whole week.
Feels like it.
But I felt like I've been outside because you're in this, rainforest with the skylights and everything.
Right.
So
Yeah. So if we have a listener that say their child was just diagnosed with epilepsy, if you could tell them one thing, what would you tell them?
I would say you're not alone. It's very scary.
I'm hearing similar themes from experts such as physicians, from individuals, from family members. Kind of, you're not alone. Find your peer group. It's a journey, and you got to keep going.
Yeah, for sure.
Journey to embark on, but there are a lot of resources and people to support you and help you. So ask for help and listen to your neurologist. And seriously, take your problems to your neurologist because there's so many resources that we can point you to. You're not alone. There's a whole community of people going through what you are.
Right, and I think that's what's so great about this event is it's doing just that. Hey y'all, it's Elaina, and I'm closing out here today in EpiCon. We are just about to head out, but
You look like you're on the red carpet.
Thank you,
Yeah, they had a little like backdrop thing.
It's such a difference, and really just bringing the epilepsy community together and giving these people the sense that, you know, you are not alone and you have a community behind you. It has really just been so special. Thank you to Alabama Care for giving me the opportunity to really shed light on these organizations that are making a difference in the epilepsy community. So this is me signing off from EpiCon 2022. So have a great day.
Great job,
Good morning,
Elaina.
everyone.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that it's a lot of fun to I mean, the advocacy that you're doing at your age and what you'll continue to do, it's exciting for us to just be a part of that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you,
it was really fun interviewing and getting to talk to all of them. So
yeah, and we'll get you one of these things. Is there another convention coming up that you want to do something like that?
they haven't, if I had to guess, that was the first EpiCon they've ever had, but I would be really shocked if they didn't make it an annual thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'll probably keep going to that, hopefully. They don't have anything big planned like coming up in the next couple months, I don't think. But hopefully they will soon.
Now you're into and I don't know the right words here, but pageantry.
Yes, so I'm a part of the Outstanding Teen organization. It is basically like the teen version of Miss Alabama, and it's a scholarship organization. And through this, we are given an opportunity. It's called our Social Impact Initiative, and it's basically kind of just like if you, just kind of advocating for something that you believe in and that you want to see a change in. And so that is kind of how I was really able to hit the ground running with Charlie's Chance. I competed in Miss Alabama's Outstanding Teen this March, and I will compete again next year. But it really is just a great organization. It gives me the opportunity to speak about Charlie's Chance and to give it a little more exposure. And the scholarships are great too. I earned a lot of money for college this year at state. But that is really probably the biggest part for me is just the scholarships that are made available.
Yeah. How is the representation of individuals with a disability in pageantry? Do you notice that there are people that use a wheelchair or maybe have an intellectual disability?
So I have not seen one, but I do know that, maybe other girls, their social impact initiative could also be something that has to do with people that have disabilities. But I have not seen anyone compete that does.
Yeah.
This was my first year competing, so there might have been in the past.
I'm thinking if there are others competing that have a disability and they're competing in pageantry, that would be a really cool broadcast for, you two to get together and just kind of vibe on.
And another thing, when I went to EpiCon, I actually brought one of my friends from the Outstanding Teen organization. Her name is Harper Howard, and her social impact initiative kind of surrounds mental health and anxiety. And just kind of mental health awareness. And so it was cool for her to come along just because our social impact initiatives kind of connect. So it's really cool. I got to bring her along. But yeah, it's a really cool organization.
Yeah. So as we kind of get to a close here, we always like to ask, is there anything that we haven't talked about that, came out of this EpiCon or just in general that you'd like to say to an individual or a family member or maybe even parents?
I don't think so. I really just want to thank y'all. Like I had so much fun interviewing the people at EpiCon. It really, I got to meet them, but then I also got to really talk to them and really hear their story. So I really just want to thank y'all for giving me that opportunity.
Like I said, we're excited about being a part of it, and great job in doing that. Really enjoyed the work. So at this time, we can go ahead and sign off. And in doing so, we'll both give a wave to our cameras and we will say, see you guys next week.
Okay. See y'all next week.
All right. Bye, Elaina.
Bye.